Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnanandana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Minam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishagan Vidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva patidanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivajadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare So, Sukadeva Goswami is speaking to Parikshit Maharaj and relating about the appearance of Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna. As Kamsa, during the marriage ceremony, was taking Vasudeva and Devaki, his cousin sister, and he was riding on the chariot, and then one prophecy came, one voice from the sky that the eighth child will kill you. The eighth child of Devaki will kill you. So hearing that, he was very much perplexed and fearful and ready to kill his sister. But Vasudeva was very intelligent. He pacified him with logical words that he does not have to fear from Devaki, but from the children. So he promised to give each of his children, although the eighth child was supposed to kill Kamsa. So he was pacified and he let them go home, and then Vasudeva, after the first child was born, and they gave him the name also Kirtiman, as it is the system right after birth. There's a ceremony usually after 10 days. For the Brahmanas, 10 days according to Vedic literatures, after 12 days for the Brahmanas, after 15 for the Vaishyas, and after 1 month for the Shudras. The Namkaran ceremony is performed, name-giving ceremony. In the general for Vaishnavas after 10 days. So the child was named, and right after that, so he came to the prison, and then he came to the place where he was staying, and he was ready to take the child. And Vasudeva saw, of course, it is natural for the parents to be attached to the child, but still he was a perfect gentleman. And a Brahmana or a Vaishnava, a gentleman, he will keep his word. So he promised that he will give all of his children, not just the 8, but each child, just to pacify him. And so Kamsa, so he was thinking at the time also that I don't have to fear from the first child. So he was telling them also that, no, you keep the child, no problem. I don't have to fear from him. Because Vasudeva, he was a little bit also understanding the nature of Kamsa, that he could change his mind, but still, so he kept the child. But then, by the will of providence, as explained here, in these verses, that Narada Muni, the great sage, Narada Muni came. And Narada Muni, so pure devotee of the Lord, but sometimes it is difficult to understand the plan of the Supreme Lord, or the activities even of the great devotees who are inspired by the Supreme Lord. So it is quite amazing that Narada Muni, from one point of view, from the ordinary point of view, that he approached Kamsa and informed him that that actually each of the children could be Vishnu. So one would think that usually Vaishnava, he will not do that, go to the enemy. And it was known that he was an atrocious person, Kamsa. He was not a godly person. But the great sages sometimes act in a way which we cannot understand. So therefore we have to be always respectful in our dealings with the devotees. And so sometimes the Lord is inspiring some devotees and even ordinary person to act in a certain way. So Krishna has his plan, or sometimes it is in the material world that something has to happen in a certain way. So, being informed by Kamsa, by Narada Muni Kamsa, so he became very fearful. In this material world, even one is very powerful, but if he is not properly situated in spiritual life, it is natural to be fearful of that. That is, everyone is fearful of that in this material world, except the devotees. Of course, even sometimes devotees, they also become fearful. It is natural because nobody, by nature, everyone is eternal, and it is natural to always want to live in this world. But that is not possible. At one point, one has to give up the body. So for the devotees, it is easier to be not afraid of that. But in order to be completely free from any fear, one has to be transcendently situated. If one is not strong, then some fear may be there. But as devotees, we depend on Krishna. And so we accept whatever is happening by the will of the Lord. And the devotees, they have knowledge that life is eternal. And even if some fear may be there, but because the devotees have knowledge, they can cope with the situation. Because the devotees, they know that we are eternal. Whereas the materialistic persons, they don't have any idea, clear idea, what will happen after death. Most of the people. Of course, Kamsa, he was knowledgeable, and he had knowledge also of the soul, but he was a demoniac person. He didn't worship God. So he had some knowledge, but he didn't have full knowledge about the absolute truth. And he was not surrendered due to the modes of material nature, the lower modes of passion and ignorance. Also we should understand, by nature everyone is a servant of Krishna. Even the greatest demon is a servant of Krishna or Vishnu. But due to the lower modes of material nature, somebody becomes sinful and inimical towards the Supreme Lord and the devotees of the Lord. So that was the situation with Kamsa. And so he was, although he was powerful, very powerful, but he was afraid of death. He didn't want to die. Therefore, when Narada Muni told him that you have to be careful, so then he took the advice of Narada Muni and he changed his mind, and he thought I have to kill all of the children of Vasudeva and Devaki. And so here is mentioned that Kamsa, he thought that all the members of the Yadu dynasty were demigods, which is actually a fact. So when Krishna is coming to this world, he's coming with his eternal associates are accompanying him. But for the purpose of performing the pastimes in this world, then is also asking the demigods to assist in the pastimes. Even sometimes they have to take the roles of some demons by the will of the Lord. And so with the understanding, because for Kamsa, so he was inimical towards the Supreme Lord, but also he didn't appreciate the demigods, because the demigods are devotees of the Lord mostly. So the demigods are also enemies of the demons. And of course the devotees, they are usually very humble and they are simply engaged with the service of the Lord. So he was not so much afraid of the devotees, but of the demigods, because the demigods are very powerful. He was afraid of them. And so he thought any of the children can be either Vishnu or a demigod. And anyone could kill me. So therefore so before he was actually in house arrest in the beginning, just staying at home, and the house was guarded, some watchmen were there, but after he became fearful and he wanted to be sure that every child is delivered, so he put them in a prison. And there were iron shackles were there, so they could not move around much. And therefore he killed after that, so each year, so he killed the children of Vasudeva and Devaki. And of course in the pastimes of the Lord, many things are served in one activity of the Lord. Many purposes are served. There are actually the Vasus, and they were cursed due to having offended a sage. They were cursed to die right after taking birth. And also the Acharyas have explained that the 6 sons of Vasudeva and Devaki, the first 6 sons, they represent the enemies of the living entities actually. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Madhu, Matsarya. So lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion and envy, so they have to be destroyed, and then only Balaram will come and make the heart ready so that Krishna can appear. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining also in the purport that Jiva Goswami was mentioning about this information in a book called Harivamsa. And there is explained that when Narada Muni went to see Kamsa, Kamsa actually very nicely received him, because he was well known as a great sage. And Kamsa also he knew that one has to respect the Brahmanas and the sages. And being nicely received, and Narada Muni gave him this information that it is better not to spare any of the children. And so hearing that, he immediately went ahead to kill the first child and the second, the third, after each year. Then, so Prabhupada is explaining here that Ajana Sankaya, so that word at the end, that refers, Ajan makes one who is not taking birth, Aja, Janma, or Ja, Kirtida Ja. So Srimati Radharani, she is known as having appeared from the womb of Kirtida. Of course, sometimes it is explained or we accept that she appeared from a lotus flower or in the Jamuna river. But so that the one who appeared from the father and mother, so the name is given, like Nandaja, Nanda Putra, Nandaja, he is appearing, Krishna appeared as the son of Nanda, or Devaki, or Yashoda. So one who is not taking birth is known as Ajanma, Aja. Even Krishna is referred to as that, Ajay, one who is unborn, one who is transcendental. Generally, so Vishnu is known in this way, is the Supreme Lord and is appearing. So therefore it is mentioned here that Manushim Tanum Ashritam, that Krishna is appearing just like an ordinary child to bewilder the demons and also to give pleasure to his parents. Also Vasudeva and Devaki, they were actually praying to the Lord to have a child, to have the Supreme Lord as a child, as their child. So therefore, first of all, he appeared as Vishnu just to instill faith the faith in them that he is actually the Supreme Lord. So he appeared in form as Vasudeva Krishna, but then he turned into a small child with 2 arms only and crying like any ordinary child. Because that was the desire of Vasudeva and Devaki also, to have the Supreme Lord as their child. And so he fulfilled the desire. And of course, in Braj, Krishna at the same time, he appeared as Yashodanandan, Nandanandan. So that is Yashodanandan, Swayamrup, Sri Krishna. Whereas Vasudev Putra, Vasudev Krishna is the expanded form of Yashodanandan Krishna. It's Bhagavan, but it's not Swayam Bhagavan. It's not the original Supreme Personality of God. There's Bhav Prakash. So that is an important point which Srila Prabhupada is also then mentioning further on, that one should know in truth how Krishna takes his birth transcendentally. So for ordinary persons, they think that Krishna is just a child, and even Kamsa, so he didn't believe that that person, that Vasudev Putra Vasudev is the Supreme Lord. He was not completely convinced because the Supreme Lord cannot be killed. So therefore he tried, but of course he was not successful because the Supreme Lord is eternal and can never be harmed. He is completely transcendental to this material world. So Prabhupada is quoting the verse from the Bhagavad-Gita, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tattvataha tyaktva diham puna janma naiti mam eti swajuna. That veti tattvataha, that is important. Veti means to know, tattvata in truth. So one who knows Krishna in truth, about his dibya, his divine janma, birth and karma activities, then he who knows that in truth, tyaktva deham puna janma, he will not have to take birth again. And he will attain the spiritual abode. So, in the Bhagavad-Gita, this word tattvataha, even veti tattvataha is mentioned in a few places. Also in the 7th chapter, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatadisidiye yatadam abhisidanam kaschimam veti tattvataha. So Krishna is explaining to Arjuna there also in the 7th chapter. So among the human beings, Manusha, Mruchanam Sahasreshwa, about thousands of human beings, one may know me. And those who know me, hardly one knows me truth. So we can see in Bharatvarsha in India, there are more than 1,300 million people living. Of them, maybe half they believe in God, and the others are just materialistic persons or impersonalists. And of those the 500 million who believe in God, so not so many are fully engaged in devotional activities. And of those who are engaged fully in devotional activities, not many of them, they know Krishna in truth, Vedi Tattvataha. So it is very rare. The pure devotees are rare. But we should try one's best to be fully absorbed in spiritual activities and to gain transcendental knowledge. And as explained here, through the medium of Shastra, Shastra Chakshus, Jnana Chakshus. With the eyes of the Shastra we should see, we should understand. With the knowledge also, of course, received from the spiritual master. Tadvidi paripatana pariprasna seva upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshanaha. So we have to receive the knowledge from the spiritual master, the representative of Krishna, of the Supreme Lord, the representative of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then only we can properly understand actually the Shastras also. Simply by trying to read the scriptures on one's own, one will not be able to understand the Supreme Lord. It is practically not possible. But one has to approach the spiritual master who is fully realized, and then under his guidance, by his mercy, one will understand in truth about Krishna, about his wonderful pastimes. So just like the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, mostly they want to enter into Braj Lila, and of course Gaur Lila also. So for that purpose, so we have to understand the Padati, the sadhana, the process by which we can attain that goal. So that is mentioned in the scriptures, so that is revealed by the pure devotee. Just like Srila Prabhupada, so he presented the books of the most intimate devotees of Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami specifically, who presented Upadeshamrita and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So he wanted the devotee to study these two books in the beginning in order to have a clear understanding of devotional service, specifically Braj Bhakti also. So for example, so if you want to go to Braj, so we have to worship Yashoda Nandan, Nandan, not Vasudev Krishna. Of course, we respect Vasudev Krishna, we respect Dwarkadesh, we respect Ramchandra Bhagavan, Vishnu, Narayan, Nrsimhadev. And one who has love for Krishna, he loves everyone. What to speak of the expansions of Krishna? Even the ants, the jiva and the ant body, so therefore he will not harm anyone. But the full love and attention and the glorification, the remembrance is of Yashoda Nandan Krishna. So that is an important point. And as mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. So of course, therefore, first we have to read the Bhagavad-Gita, and then we read the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then Prabhupada presented the Chaitanya Charitamrita also to be read. So, not in the temple, but then privately, after having studied the Srimad Bhagavatam, then we should study the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Then we can have the clear understanding of the Srimad Bhagavatam. What is the essence of the Srimad Bhagavatam? And that is the 10th canto, the Ashray, Summum Bonum, as explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam itself also. And there the Braj Lila, the first 35 chapters are most important, which is about Krishna's pastimes when he appears in this world. And then, so up to and then of course he goes to Mathura and Dwarka. But specifically, the Gauri Vaishnavas, they will worship Krishna in Braj. And then they will follow in the footsteps of the associates of Krishna, the eternal associates. Ragatmik Jan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has explained that without following the footsteps of the Brijbasis, it is not possible to enter into Braj. There's one other verse, Bhakti-yamam abhijanati yavan yashasat tattvataha tattvamam tattvato gyatva vishattetat anantaram, from the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita, text number 54. So there is explaining by bhakti, so one can understand Bhakti-yamam abhijanati yavan yashasmi tattvataha. Then one can, in tattvata, in truth, we can understand Krishna. And then vishattetat anantaram, then one can enter the pastimes of Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so he very clearly mentioned that we have to follow the Brijbasis. And in the same 10th canto, a little further on, in Damodar Lila, so we are worshipping Damodar Krishna, Yashoda Damodar, during the month of Kartik, in just a little more than 10 days. So to come closer to Krishna, to develop our love for Him, to become more pure in our love. So Yashoda Damodar is worshipped during the month of Kartik. Of course, the devotees, so that is in Prabhupada is explained in this chapter, referring to this Damodar Lila, that those who want to enter into the relationship of Vatsalya Bhav, the parental affection towards Krishna, they have to carefully study the service and the mood, how she was serving Krishna, how she was taking care of Krishna, and in which mood she was doing the service to Krishna. That we have to study. So that is known as Raga Anuga Bhakti, following the eternal associates of Krishna in Braj. And by doing that, then our consciousness will be purified, and then our relationship with Krishna will be revealed and established, and then we can, after giving up this body, we can enter the pastimes of the Lord. And those who want to have the friendship relationship with Krishna, they should study the books, also the pastimes regarding the pastimes of Krishna with his friends, Sudam, Sridam, Vasudam, Kinkini, Subal, Arjun, Stoka Krishna, Gandharv, Madhumangal, and so on. And by hearing about the pastimes of Krishna with his friends, that then one can also then imbibe that mood and then enter the pastimes of the Lord in that realm. So that has been explained very nicely, the different moods of the associates of Krishna in Braj and the nectar of devotion. For those who have also the servitorship relationship, like in Krishna's father's palace in Nanda Bhavan and Nandagaon. So there the servants are there, Raktak, Patrak, and they are so helping in cleaning the house, or sometimes cutting Krishna's beautiful hair a little bit, trimming the hair. And there's one servant cleaning Krishna's cloth. So Raktak and Patrak, they're preparing tambul, the pan leaves, and putting crushed betel nuts and some spices inside, and Krishna likes it very much. So the symptoms are mentioned there in the Krishna book. And the Krishna book to some extent, or here in the Bhagavatam, but more explicitly it is explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Rupa Goswami. And then in regards to the highest relationship, that is with the gopis, that is explained to some extent in the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but that is the highest and most confidential, and only those who are then fully advanced and purified in consciousness, they can enter that realm. And for that purpose, then he has written one book, Ujjwal Nilamani, where he has very elaborately explained the different moods of the gopis and relationship in the loving relationship with Krishna. So by studying these books under the guidance of the spiritual master, then one can be absorbed in that, and then one can advance to the highest stage of pure devotional service, and then realize Krishna Swarup and one's own Swarup. And then after that one can enter into the pastimes of the Lord in one of the universes. Also, it is not possible to directly go, but usually one will first have to go to the universe where Krishna is performing his pastimes, then one becomes perfect. One will be trained up there in the service, then one can enter the pastimes of the Lord fully, and then one is automatically also there in the spiritual world. So, in order to achieve that, one has to be very serious and sincere, and always fully engaged positively in devotional activities under the guidance of the spiritual master, under the guidance of the advanced devotees, in the association with the devotees, and try to be fully engaged in loving relationship with Krishna and the devotees. And then also one should be compassionate to the younger devotees and to the common people who are non-envious, and try also to help them to come to this spiritual life. So Vaishnava is not thinking about his own liberation also, but is very much concerned about the others, the conditioned souls. But we have to, of course, first take care of ourselves, and when we are nicely situated, then we can help others also. But it is important to have that mood of giving, not just wanting to take the benefit of the service of the Lord and of the Mahaprasad, but try to give the knowledge to others, try to give prasadam to others. And so in this way, then Mahaprabhu will be very pleased. The spiritual master will be pleased, and Mahaprabhu will be pleased, and Krishna will be pleased. Hare Krishna, 9 o'clock. Any questions? Everything is clear? Yeah, Mataji, one Mataji has one. Give the microphone behind. One Mataji has a question. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Here. Yes, good question. Yes, if we should also visualize the pastimes. In the beginning, one should try to chant nicely and hear nicely. But then one has to serve the deities. One has to hear the pastimes of the Lord. And then ultimately, one should remember Krishna while chanting. And of course, in the beginning, it is a kind of force is there, and it may sometimes almost seem to be artificial, but no harm. But we have to concentrate on the speaking and the hearing. That is important. But then you have to pray first to Guru. Because without the Guru's mercy, you can never serve Krishna. You cannot see Krishna. Just like when you serve the deities, first is Guru Puja, then Gauranga, and then Krishna Puja. So we chant Hare Krishna, and then you remember your spiritual master also, and pray to him that you can chant nicely. And then after that you can pray so that you may see Mahaprabhu, you may see the deities you are worshipping, you may see Krishna. Because Krishna Nam is no different. So when you chant the Krishna, you must actually see Krishna. Then you're really chanting. Otherwise, there's nothing there. And we are not Mayavadis. We don't want to merge into the Brahma Jyoti. So if you're not thinking, nothing is there. But you have to think of Krishna ultimately. But it will take some time. But you have to pray. And then Prabhupada used to say, that is the process. Bhakti-yoga, Bhakti-yoga, Bhakti-yoga dan. Bhakti-a, Krishna Nam. Smarane Krandane. So the wealth of Bhakti-yoga is there. And what is Bhakti-yoga? Krishna Nam. chanting the holy names, and smarane, remembering Krishna, Krishna's beautiful form, and then krandane, crying. And Prabhupada also used to say, and Govinda Maharaj was very much stressing that point, and he was saying, I am opening a crying school. You have to cry. And Prabhupada also used to say, the chanting, it is like a crying of the child. To the mother first, Srimati Radharani Hare. Hara, that is also an address to Srimati Radharani. And then just like we say Radha, but when you call out to Radha, you say Radhe. And so Hara is the name of Radharani also, and then you say Hare. So we pray to Srimati Radharani, please engage me in the service of Krishna. And so then you have to cry like a child, crying to the parents, I'm in a helpless position. Or if somebody is bothering the child, small child, going to mama and papa, papa, mama, this boy is bothering me, he's beaten me, he's crying. Then the parents will pacify and tell the other boy, don't beat my boy. So we have to cry because we're in a helpless position. So many difficulties are there. Material nature, even sometimes so-called enemies are there and other people bothering us. But the main problem is not from outside, the main problem is from inside. As explained, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Matsarya. So these enemies, they have to be destroyed. So the jiva is bothered by these enemies from the mind. So therefore we have to cry out for help. First to Guru, then Kuranga, and then Krishna. So you have to cry so that you can sometimes see Mahaprabhu, so you can sometimes see Krishna. And then Prabhupada used to say, if you cannot cry, then you should cry that you can cry. If you cannot do that, you cry that you cannot cry, that you cannot cry. So in other words, if tears are not coming from the eyes, tears should be coming from your eyes, as Mahaprabhu says, like torrents of rain. So that is the advanced stage. But if not that stage, maybe sometimes a tear should come while chanting in bliss, or in separation, or in despair. So if no tears are coming while chanting, then you should pray. You should cry, my dear Lord, the tears are not coming. Like this, and then eventually maybe some tears may come sometimes. But if they're not, you should cry. That's why we're chanting the Shikshastakam every day. We should meditate on these verses also. When will the day come? And so then in this mood you should then chant and then pray that all the garbage will go away which is there in the consciousness. And the mind is saying this and this and that. I should do this, I should do that. But you should think about Krishna. Amani namanana Krishna nama sadalabe braja Radha Krishna seva manase karibe. Mahaprabhu told Raghunath Goswami first to be humble, tolerant, not expect any honor, give honor to others. And always chant Hare Krishna. And then while you're chanting, Braje, Radha Krishna Seva Manase Karibe. Braja, in Braj, Radha Krishna Seva should be there. With the mind, you should remember Radha Krishna, how beautiful they are. You remember how the Lalit and Vishaka are serving. So that is a high stage, but that is actually the goal. And so we have to pray. And and two kinds of pastimes are there, the Nitya Leela and the Prakat Leela in the spiritual world. Ultimately we have to remember both of them. But first we concentrate on Krishna's pastimes here. And by hearing Krishna's pastimes in this world, then the anarthas, they will be destroyed. If you hear the different demons being killed, then the different arthas are destroyed. Then we can hear about Radha Krishna's pastimes throughout the day and night. And then we may remember when the consciousness is pure. So that has been explained by the acharyas also. But we have to endeavor and we have to pray. From nothing comes. If you're just chanting mindlessly and the mind is going here or the consciousness is there, or the soul is then riding on the chariot of the mind, going to America, going to here and there, I should go here and there. But no, Krishna is there, and Krishna is there. When we're chanting, we should be in Braj. not just physically but internally. And then we should see the associates of the Lord. Krishna smaram janam jasya. And Krishna smaram janam jasya nija preshtam sametam tata kata rachasya kuryat vasam rajasada. So that is from Nectar Devotion. Prabhupada quotes them in the purport to the 8th verse of the Upaneshambhrita, what is the essence of all advisors, that we should constantly remember Krishna's wonderful qualities, Krishna's form, qualities and pastimes. And so in this way one should be in Braj. And then in the mood, tad anuragi jananugami. And then remember the Brijabasis who have anurag, that is one stage of prem. We should remember their pastimes. Krishna smaram janam chasta nija preshtam samitam. And should discuss these pastimes. Hear and discuss these pastimes. And then sometimes you can remember when you're chanting, when you're praying. And then you can advance towards perfection. So, but it will take some time, but we have a whole life to practice. But we have to be very serious and sincere and really try to go in that direction so that we can make tangible advancement, and maybe we may become perfect. It is possible in one lifetime, but we should try to advance as much as possible in this lifetime. And if you're fortunate, we may attain perfection. If not, the next life, which is also no problem. So, but we should try to make as much as possible advancement. So we have to remember Krishna ultimately while chanting. That is real chanting. Otherwise it is just at the most namabhas, a reflection of the name. But real chanting is when you're chanting and you're remembering Krishna and Krishna's wonderful qualities and Krishna's associates and Krishna's pastimes. Okay? Hare Krishna. Okay, so those who want to go, they can go. And those who have more questions, they should. Yeah, yes. So our Honorable President may go, and other senior devotees. And you can, one more question? Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Thank you for the wonderful class, bro. Bro, in this verse, this Aja word is mentioned.
Yes.
And also Prabhupada is mentioning about the Janma Karma Samedika.
Yes.
Like in our my Guru Maharaj's lecture and many lectures we have heard about considering the Guru as like Bhagavad Buddhi about Guru, and also Bhagavad Buddhi about like Sarvatra Bhagavad Darshan. So can these things, this Aja word is considered like Lord saying is my Janma is Divya.
Yes.
Can it be considered in our daily life where we are seeing Lord's hand in our life? Like wherever we see God in our life, can this word is considered like Janma Karma Samedika? Like we can consider that Lord is taking birth in our life there. Is it appropriate?
Actually, for example, in Janmashtami we are celebrating the appearance of Krishna. So every Janmashtami, if Krishna is not in our heart, when we cannot perceive Krishna in our hearts on Janmashtami, then we should pray to Krishna. It is your appearance day today. May you appear in our heart. May you become manifest in our heart. So that you should do every year till Krishna is really there, manifested in your heart. And regarding this Ajana, so that refers to the Lord who is transcendental, yes, who is Dibya. And so therefore Prabhupada mentioned Janma Karma Chanme Dibyam. So that the Supreme Lord, everything about the Lord is transcendental. So His appearance is also transcendental. And so in this world, He's appearing as a child. But in the spiritual world, He's in the Kishoravasta, fresh youth of 15 years. So ultimately we are praying. Well, it's nice to also see Krishna as a baby, the baby form. and that we may pray also. But ultimately we want to see Kishore and Kishori. Shyama Sundar, 15 years old, and Srimati Radharani, 13 years old. That is their eternal age. So we want to ultimately see that form, not just simply Krishna as a child. But in the beginning we have to hear about these pastimes. We may try to visualize this pastime also, but ultimately we have to try to pray that this form of Kishore Kishori may manifest in our heart. So that is the original form of Krishna. So, but in this material world, so that is simultaneously not different from the spiritual world, but there is a difference there also. In Golok, Krishna is never there as a baby. There is no birth in Golok, and he's not going to Mathura, and there are no demons there. So, but in this world, so Krishna is appearing in this way to attract the devotees, to purify the devotees, and so they may then understand also the eternal pastimes. So, but ultimately, more important than the pastimes in this world are the eternal pastimes. So we should try to pray for this Kishore Kishori, that we may see Shyama Sundar as an eternal youth. So that will be more important. And when we see any verse of the Bhagavatam, so ultimately we try to see Krishna, Shyama Sundar, and Srimati Radharani in their eternal form, not in the childhood pastimes. But, of course, some who have this Vatsalya Bhav, they will see as a child that may be there. But in Gaudiya Vaishnavas, mostly the relationship is in the mood of the gopis. Like all our acharyas, they are in Gopi Bhav. They are manjaris, they are gopis. So that is the highest understanding in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. But other relationships may be there. But we concentrate on ultimately we have to concentrate on the eternal pastimes if we want to enter the eternal pastimes. But the pastimes in this world are also important to purify the consciousness of the conditioned soul. So, but any verse you can take from the Bhagavatam, then the pure devotee will always see their Ishtadev there, because Bhagavatam is no different from Krishna. And our Aradhya Dev, that is Krishna, Yashodanandan Gopinath. Okay? Hare Krishna.